Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So continuing with the discussion on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, Chapter 10, the trunk, branches and sub-branches of the Chaitanya tree. Text 104 onwards. Iha sabari aiche hela prabhu ramilan age vistarya taha kariva varnam. I shall later explain very elaborately how all these devotees met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So means all the 6 Goswamis and other devotees. Shri Gopal Bhatt ek shakha sarvatam rupa sanatana sange yarape malapan. Shri Gopal Bhatt Goswami, the 47th branch, was one of the great and exalted branches of the tree. He always engaged in discourses about love of Godhead in the company of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. Shri Gopal Bhatt Goswami was the son of Venkat Bhatt, a resident of Sri Rangam. Gopal Bhatt formerly belonged to the disciplic succession of the Ramanuja Sampradaya, but later became part of the Gaudiya Sampradaya. In the year 1433 Shakabda or AD 1511, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was touring South India, he stayed for 4 months during the period of Chaturmasya at the house of Venkat Bhatt, who then got the opportunity to serve the Lord to his heart's content. So Venkat Bhatt was at Sri Rangam. He was living there. That house is still there, which Venkat Bhatt lived and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed with him. Gopal Bhatt also got the opportunity to serve the Lord at this time. Shri Gopal Bhatt Goswami was later initiated by his uncle, the great sannyasi, Prabodhananda Saraswati. Both the father and the mother of Gopal Bhatt Goswami were extremely fortunate, for they dedicated their entire lives to the service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They allowed Gopal Bhatt Goswami to go to Vrindavan, and they gave up their lives thinking of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Lord Chaitanya was later informed that Gopal Bhatt Goswami had gone to Vrindavan and met Sri Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, he was very pleased, and he advised Sri Rupa and Sanatan to accept Gopal Bhatt Goswami as a younger brother and take care of him. Sri Sanatan Goswami, out of his great affection for Gopal Bhatt Goswami, compiled the Vaishnav Smriti named Hari Bhakti Vilas and published it under his name, means under Gopal Bhatt's name. Under the instruction of Srila Rupa and Sanatan, Gopal Bhatt Goswami installed one of the 7 principal deities of Vrindavan, the Radha Raman deity. The Sevayats, priests of the Radha Raman temple, belong to the Gaudiya Sampradaya. So Gopal Bhatt Goswami, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in 1511, he stayed at the house of Venkat Bhatt for 4 months. So Gopal was a little boy. He was, I think, 8 years old at that time. But he developed the desire to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he wanted to go with Mahaprabhu when Mahaprabhu was ready to leave. Mahaprabhu said, no, you stay here and you study under your uncle, Prabodhananda Saraswati, and take care of your parents. Once they leave the body, then you come to me. So this is what he did. And finally, Gopal Bhatt Goswami went to Vrindavan and met Rupa and Sanatan Goswami there, and then he stayed there rest of his life. And here it is mentioned of Radha Raman deity. So Gopal Bhatt Goswami, when he was living in Vrindavan, so once he decided to go to Nepal. So he went to Nepal, he went to that Gandaki river, where every stone is Shaligram Shila. So he had a desire to serve the Shaligram Shila. So when he was taking bath, so he put his hands down and 12 Shaligram Shilas, they jumped on his hand. And when he took his hand out, the Shaligram Shilas. But then he thought, no, I have to do so many services, I cannot serve the Shilas. So he put the Shilas back in the river. And when he again took up water to bathe, 12 Shaligram Shilas again jumped into his hand. Then he realized, okay, maybe the Lord wants me to serve them. Well, okay. So Shaligram Shila is installed deity. We don't have to do any other installation. So he brought them. But when he was bringing from Nepal to Vrindavan, he was walking. So there was a village near Saharanpur, Deva Vindhya Gram. So he stayed over there because it was raining and he could not move further. So he stayed in the house of a Brahmin there. And that Brahmin and his wife, when they served him very well, but when he was going to leave in the morning, they asked him that please give us a benediction that we have a son. We have been married for a long time, but we haven't had a chance to conceive any kid. So Gopal Bhatt Goswami gave them the blessings. And they said, if we have more than one son, the first son we'll send to your service. Okay. So Gopal Bhatt Goswami came back. And once he was serving his Shaligram Shila. No, Shaligram Shila, we know, they're just Shilas. We don't do any dressing on them. We just bathe them, we can paint them, but there's no dressing. So one Seth had come to Vrindavan and he was giving all these acharyas the dresses for the deities. Every acharya had one deity or the other, Radha Krishna or God Nitai or other deity. So that was the day of Narsingh Chaturdashi. So Gopal Bhatt Goswami, he looked at his Shaligram Shila, he said, I cannot even get any dresses for you. So he said, just like Nrsimhadev appeared from the pillar, rock, a stone pillar, Krishna, why don't you appear? So I can serve you. So next morning, after Narsingh Chaturdashi, next morning he went to take bath in Yamuna so he can come back and serve his deities. So when he came back, he saw he had among all the Shilas, the Shaligram Shila, there are different Shilas. So every Shila has a different mark on it to tell us which Shila it is. So from the Damodar Shila, a deity of Krishna had appeared. And he was very surprised. And this deity is also not just a small Shila deity, it's pretty big. It's about 12 inches tall. And he was surprised, he was happy, he ran around, he went around, the news went around to all the acharyas, to all the Goswamis, everybody in Vrindavan that Krishna himself has appeared from one of the Shilas of Gopal Bhatt Goswami. So everybody came, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, everybody came. And everybody agreed that this Radha Raman, who's Swayambhu, who's self-manifested, he looks exactly like Krishna. And if you look at the pictures of the deities, the deity, Radha Raman deity, sometimes you see 2 or 3 teeth in his face. So if he's really happy, if he's smiling, he shows his teeth, and sometimes he doesn't show his teeth. Many times I have heard people say, no, this is photoshopped or edited. No, they're not edited. Krishna can do anything, whatever he wants, he can do. What's a big deal? And in the back of the deity, there is still that original Damodar Shila from which he appeared. The some part of it is there. So many times people, because they don't have the faith, so some historical people, they have come to check, and they were like, no, he cannot appear on his own. Somebody must have carved the deity. So the Sevites, they Goswamis, they let them check, okay, check. And they don't see any mark of any carving. Radharaman deity appeared on its own. So that is why when he noticed Narsingh Chaturdashi, and next day's appearance of Radharaman deity. And beautiful temple, if you go there, and especially during summertime, they have this Phool Bangla decoration, beautiful, fragrant Phool Bangla to keep the deity cool, and the temple also. And sometimes they have this system of water pipe around the fan, ceiling fan, and when the fan rotates, the water sprinkles over everybody in the temple hall. Just nice, cool feeling. And this Radharaman deity is small, and actually there's no Radharani along with that. They just keep something on the side to signify presence of Radharani. And he is so small that when Mughals, Muslims, they were breaking all the temples and the deities in Vrindavan, and the deities had moved to Jaipur, and some deities went to other places, mostly Jaipur. But this Radharaman deity was so small, the Pujari just hid him in a box, and all these Muslims, they could not find him. So this is the original deity and still staying in Vrindavan. He didn't leave Vrindavan. And once we go inside the temple, come out, and on the left-hand side, there is a samadhi of Gopal Bhatt Goswami. When Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami took permission from all the Vaishnavas before writing Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Gopal Bhatt Goswami also gave him his blessings, but he requested him not to mention his name in the book. Therefore, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has mentioned Gopal Bhatt Goswami only very cautiously in one or two passages of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srila Jiva Goswami has written in the beginning of his Tattva Sandarbha, a devotee from South India who was born of a Brahmin family and was a very intimate friend of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, has written a book that he has not compiled systematically. Therefore, I, a tiny living entity known as Jiva, am trying to present the book systematically, consulting the direction of great personalities like Madhvacharya, Sridhar Swami, Ramanujacharya, and other Vaishnavas, and other senior Vaishnavas in the disciplic succession. So this is how humble he was. He didn't want his name to be mentioned anywhere. In the beginning of the Bhagavad Sandarbha, there are similar statements by Srila Jiva Goswami. Srila Gopal Bhatt Goswami compiled a book called Shatkriya Sara Deepika, edited the Haribhakti Vilas, wrote a foreword to the Shat Sandarbha and a commentary on the Krishna Karnamrita, and installed the Radharaman deity in Vrindavan. In the Gaur Ganadesh Deepika, it is mentioned that his previous name in the past life of Lord Krishna was Ananga Manjari. Sometimes he is also said to have been an incarnation of Guna Manjari. Srinivasacharya and Gopinath Pujari were two of his disciples. So as I was mentioning that he stayed in the Deva Vindhya Gram near Saranpur. So he came and then he had forgotten that incident. But about 10 years later, he came back from Yamuna in the morning and he saw a boy sitting next at the steps of his house. He asked him, "Who are you? Where did you come from?" He said, "Baba, I think his name was Gopinath. Baba, my name is Gopinath. And I've come from the village where you stayed at the house, and my father gave you his word that whenever my first boy is born, I'll send him to your service. So I'm that boy." So that boy, he was personally trained by Gopal Bhatt Goswami, and he stayed. Uh, he stayed there as a pujari, and he served throughout his life. Shankararanyacharya vrikshera ekashakha mukunda kashinath rudra upushakha lekha. The Acharya Shankararanya was considered the 48th branch of the origin tree. From him proceeded the sub-branches known as Mukunda, Kashinath and Rudra. It is said that Shankararanya was a sannyas name of Srila Vishwarup, who was the elder brother of Vishwambara, the original name of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shankararanya expired in 1432 Shakabda or AD 1510 at Sholapur, where there is a place of pilgrimage known as Pandharpur. This is referred in the Adi Lila, chapter 9. So when Shankararanya or Vishwarup, he was the elder brother of Vishwambar, but he took sannyas when his parents, Jagannath Mishra Shachimata, they were talking about getting him married, and he didn't want to get married, and he was always used to spend time in the association of Advaita Acharya and other Vaishnavas. So all of a sudden, one day, he just left his house. And then Jagannath Mishra was very upset, and so was Sachimata. And then they were always taking care of Vishwambar, a little Nimai, so he doesn't run away and take sannyas. But later on, he also did. So Shankararanya or Vishwarup, then it is said that he left his body in Pandharpur. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhav, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu opened a primary school in the house of Mukunda or Mukunda Sanjay. And Mukunda's son, whose name was Purushottam, became the Lord's student. Kashinath arranged the marriage of Lord Chaitanya in his previous ashram, and his name was Vishwambar. Kashinath induced the court Pandit Sanatan to offer Vishwambar his daughter, who was Lakshmi Priya. In text 50 of the Gaur Gunadesh Deepika, it is mentioned that Kashinath was an incarnation of the Brahman Kulak, whom Satrajit went to arrange the marriage of Krishna and Satyabhama. So that was mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, marriage of Krishna and Satyabhama. And in text 135, it is mentioned that Rudra or Sri Rudram Pandit was formerly a friend of Lord Krishna's named Varuthapa. Shri Rudrama Pandit constructed a big temple at Vallabhpur, which is 1 mile north of Mahesh, for the deity named Radha Vallabh. The descendants of his brother Yadunandan Vandyopadhyay are known as Chakravarti Thakurs, and they are in charge of the maintenance of this temple as Sevaits. Formerly, the Jagannath deity used to come to the temple of Radha Vallabh from Mahesh during the Rath Yatra festival, but in the Bengali year, due to a misunderstanding, Bengali year 1262 or AD 1855, due to a misunderstanding between the priests of the two temples, the Jagannath deity stopped coming. It's all up to Lord Jagannath, whatever he wants. Srinath Pandit Prabhu Kripara Bhajan Yara Krishna Seva Dekhi Vashatri Bhuvan. Srinath Pandit, the 49th branch, was a beloved recipient of all the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everyone in the three worlds was astonished to see how he worshipped Lord Krishna. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhav, about 1.5 miles away from Kumar Hut or Kamar Hut, which is a few miles from Calcutta, is a village known as Kanchana Pada, which was the home of Shri Shivanand Sen. There he constructed a temple of Shri Gauragopal. Srinath Pandit established another temple there with Shri Radha Krishna Murtis. The deities of that temple is named as Shri Krishna Rai, the temple of Krishna Rai, which was constructed in the year 1708 Shakabda or AD 1786 by a prominent Zamindar named Nimai Malik of Pathuria Ghata in Calcutta is very large. So this temple of Krishna Rai. There is a big courtyard in the front of the temple, and there are residential quarters for visitors and good arrangements for cooking prasad. The entire courtyard is surrounded by very high boundary walls, and the temple is almost as big as a Mahesh temple. Inscribed on a tablet are the names of Srinath Pandit and his father and grandfather and the date of construction of the temple. Srinath Pandit, one of the disciples of Advaita Prabhu, was a spiritual master of the third son of Shivanand Sen, who was known as Paramananda Kavi Karnapur. It is said that the Krishna Rai deity was installed during the time of Kavi Karnapur. According to hearsay, Veerbhadra Prabhu, the son of Nityanand Prabhu, brought a big stone from Murshidabad, from which three deities were carved, namely the Radha Vallabh Vigraha of Vallabhpur, the Shyam Sundar Vigraha of Khaddaha, and the Sri Krishna Rai Vigraha of Kanchanapana. The home of Shivanand Sen was situated on the bank of the Ganges near an almost ruined temple. It is said that the same Nimai Malik of Calcutta saw this broken down temple of Krishna Rai while he was going to Banaras and thereafter constructed the present temple. So maybe someday we get a chance to visit these temples. Jagannatacharya Prabhu Priyadas Prabhu Ragyate Teho Kaila Gangavas. Jagannatacharya, the 50th branch of the Chaitanya tree, was an extremely dear servant of the Lord, by whose order he decided to live on the bank of the Ganges. So Jagannatacharya is stated in the Gaur Ganadesh Deepika to have been formerly Durvasa of Nidhuvan. Krishnadas Vaidya or Pandit Sheikh Kavi Chandra are Kirtaniya Shashtiva. The 51st branch of the Chaitanya tree was Krishnadas Vaidya. The 52nd was Pandit Shekhar. The 53rd was Kavi Chandra. And the 54th was Shashtiva, who was a great Sankirtan performer. In the Gaur Ganadesh Deepika, it is mentioned that Kavi Chandra was Manohara Gopi, and that Srinath Mishra, mentioned in the next verse, was Chitrangi. Srinath Mishra, Shubhananda, Sri Ram Ishan, Srinidhi, Sri Gopi Kanta, Mishra Bhagavan. The 55th branch was Srinath Mishra, the 56th was Shubhananda, 57th was Sri Ram, the 58th was Ishan, and 59th was Srinidhi, the 60th was Sri Gopi Kanta, and 61st was Mishra Bhagavan. Shubhananda formerly lived in Vrindavan as Malati, but was one of the Kirtan performers who danced in front of the Rath Yatra cart during the Jagannath festival. It is said that he ate the foam that came out of the Lord's mouth while the Lord danced before the Rath Yatra cart. Ishan was the personal servant of Srimati Shachi Devi, who showered her great mercy upon him. He was also very dear to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu, when he was dancing before the Rath Yatra, he was in his ecstatic mood, and in the ecstasy, the foam came out of his mouth. And this Shubhananda, he just picked up that foam and ate it. Subudhi Mishra Hirdayananda Kamalanayan Mahesh Pandit Shri Kara Shri Madhusudan. The 62nd branch of the tree was Subudhi Mishra. The 63rd was Hirdayananda. The 64th was Kamalnayan. The 65th was Mahesh Pandit. The 66th was Shrikar. And 67th was Shri Madhusudan. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhav, Subhuddhi Mishra, who was formerly Guna Chura in Vrindavan, installed Gaur Nityanand deities in a temple in the village known as Belagan, which is about 3 miles from Sri Khanda. His present descendant is known as Govinda Chandran Goswami. Purushottam Shri Galima Jagannath Das Shri Chandra Shekhar Vaidya Vijay Haridas. The 68th branch of the original tree was Purushottam. The 69th was Shri Galima. The 70th was Jagannath Das. The 71st was Shri Chandrasekhar Vaidya. And the 72nd was Dvij Haridas. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, there is some question about whether the Dvij Haridas was the author of Ashtotara Shatanam. He had 2 sons named Shridam and Gokulananda, who were disciples of Sri Advaita Acharya. Their village, Kanchan Gadia, is situated within 5 miles of Bajarasao station, the 5th station from Azimgarh in the district of Murshidabad, West Bengal. So much detail, something. Ramandas, Kavichandra, Shri Gopala Das, Bhagavat Acharya, Sharanga Das. The 73rd branch of the original tree was Ramdas. 74th was Kavichandra. The 75th was Shri Gopal Das. 76th was Bhagavat Acharya, and the 77th was Thakur Sharang Das. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, in the Gaur Gunadesh Deepika, it is said, Bhagavat Acharya compiled a book called Krishna Prem Tarangini. And he was the most beloved devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited Varahanagar, now a suburb of Calcutta, he stayed in the house of the most fortunate Brahmin, who was a very learned scholar in Bhagavad literature. As soon as this Brahmin saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he began to read Srimad Bhagavatam. When Mahaprabhu heard his explanation, which expounded Bhakti Yoga, he immediately became unconscious in ecstasy. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu later said, I have never heard such a nice explanation of Srimad Bhagavatam. I therefore designate you as Bhagavat Acharya. Your only duty is to recite Srimad Bhagavatam. That is my injunction. His real name was Raghunath. His monastery, which is situated in Varahanagar, about 3.5 miles north of Calcutta, the bank of Ganges, still exists, and it is managed by the initiated disciple of the late Ramdas Babaji. Presently, however, it is not as well managed as in the presence of Babaji Maharaj. About Sarang Thakur. Another name of Thakur Sarang Das was Sarang. Sometimes he was also called Sharangapani or Sharangadhar. He was a resident of Navdeep in the neighborhood known as Modrum Dweep. And he used to worship the Supreme Lord in a secluded place on the bank of the Ganges. He was not accepting disciples, but he was repeatedly being inspired from within by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to do so. So this is also a very amazing story. Thus, one morning he decided, whoever I see, I shall make my disciple. Whoever I see first, the first person I see. So in the morning, when he went to the bank of Ganges to take his bath, by chance he saw a dead body floating in the water, and he touched it with his feet. This immediately brought the body to life, and Thakur Sharang Das accepted him as his disciple. These are the amazing things. This disciple later became famous as Thakur Murari, and his name is always associated with that of Sri Sharang. His disciplic succession still inhabits the village of Shar. There is a temple at Mamagachi that is said to have been started by Sharang Thakur. Not long ago, a new temple building was erected in front of a bakula tree there, and it is now being managed by the members of the Gaudiya Math. It is said that the management of the temple is now far better than before. In the Gaur Gunadesh Deepika, it is said that Sharan Thakur was formerly a gopi named Nandi Mukhi. Some devotees say that he was formerly Prahlad Maharaj. But Shri Kavi Karnapur says that his father Shivanand Sen does not accept this proposition. So he was a gopi named Nandi Mukhi. Jagannath Tirtha Vipra Shri Janakinath Gopal Acharya Ara Vipra Vaninath. The 78th branch of the original tree was Jagannath Tirtha. The 79th was the Brahman Shri Janakinath. The 80th was Gopal Acharya. And the 81st was Brahman Vaninath. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, Jagannath Tirtha was one of the 9 principal sannyasis who were Lord Chaitanya's associates. Vaninath Vipra was a resident of Champahati, a village in the district of Burdwan near the town of Navadvip. The police station of Purvasthali and the post office of Samudragada. The temple there was very much neglected, but it was renovated in the Bengali year 1328 or AD 1921 by Sri Paramanand Brahmachari, one of Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciples, who recognized the Seva Puja worship in the temple and placed the temple under the management of the Sri Chaitanya Math of Sri Mayapur. In the temple as it now exists, the deity of Sri Gaur Gadadhar is worshipped strictly according to the principles of the revealed scriptures. Champahati is 2 miles away from both the Samudragad and the Navadvip station of the Eastern Railway. I guess to visit all these places, several temples, we need at least 1 month in Mayapur. Govind Madhav Vasudeva Tin Bhai Yasabara Kirtane Nache Chaitanya Nitai. The 3 brothers, Govind, Madhav, and Vasudeva, were the 82nd, 83rd, and 84th branches of the tree. Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda used to dance in the Kirtan performances. The 3 brothers, Govind, Madhav, and Vasudev Ghosh, all belonged to a Kayasth family. Govinda established the Gopinath temple in Agradweep, where he resided. Madhav Ghosh was expert in performing kirtan. No one within this world could compete with him. He was known as the singer of Vrindavan and was very dear to Sri Nityananda Prabhu. It is said that when the 3 brothers performed Sankirtan, immediately Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda would dance in ecstasy. According to the Gaur Gunadesh Deepika, the 3 brothers were formerly Kalavati, Rasulas, and Gunatunga, who recited the songs composed by Shri Vishakha Gopi. So they were in the team of Vishakha Sakhi. The 3 brothers were among one of the 7 parties that performed Kirtan when Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu attended the Rath Yatra festival at Jagannath Puri. Vakreshwar Pandit was the chief dancer in their party. This is vividly described in Adi Lila, chapter 13 of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Ramadas Abhiram Sakya Prema Rasi Shola Shangir Kashtatuli Karila Vanchi. Ramadas Abhiram was fully absorbed in the mellow of friendship. He made a flute of a bamboo stick. How long? With 16 knots. Normally a flute is what? Maybe 18 inches long, something like that. Here he took a bamboo stick, which was 16 knots. We can only imagine how long it must be. And that was his flute. Abhiram was an inhabitant of Khana Kula Krishna Nagar. So this Abhiram Thakur we talked about. See, so far we are reading some of the associates were gopis, formerly gopis in Krishna Lila. But those who were gopas, this Ramdas Abhiram is one of them. And the gopas, as we studied some of their some of Krishna's childhood pastimes are Gopas. Gopas means they were completely absorbed in the mellow of friendship, and they would not listen to anybody. These are the Brajvasis, Gopas. They would just do their own stuff. Nobody could stop them. And the same mood they had in Gaur Leela. Like Abhiram Thakur, we heard about him. Whoever he paid obeisances to, and if that person had even a tinge of material desires, he would die immediately. And look at him, he carried a flute made of a bamboo stick with 16 knots. What kind of flute that must be? Prabhu Agyaya Nityananda Gauda Chalila Tara Sange Tin Jana. Prabhu Agyaya. By the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 3 devotees accompanied Lord Nityananda Prabhu when he returned to Bengal to preach from Jagannath Puri. Ramadas, Madhav और Vasudeva Ghosh, Prabhu Sange Rahe Govind Paya Santosha. These 3 were Ramadas, Madhav Ghosh, and Vasudeva. Govind Ghosh, however, remained with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri and thus felt great satisfaction. So we'll read that pastime when Nityananda Prabhu left Jagannath Puri because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him to go to Bengal and preach. And Nityananda Prabhu left along with these 3, Ramadas, Madhav Ghosh, and Vasudeva Ghosh. And Vasudeva Ghosh, as we studied, great singer, great Kirtaniya leader. And going with Nityananda Prabhu, walking from Jagannath Puri to Navadvip. I think we'll just discuss that. It's amazing, most beautiful pastime. First of all, these 3 with Nityananda Prabhu. So they started kirtan and dancing while walking towards Navadvip. And dancing with Nityananda Prabhu, and he is there, and these 3 devotees, we can only imagine. Actually, we cannot even imagine what kind of walking or trip that must be. So dancing is going on, kirtan is going on in full ecstasy. Everybody is dancing, kirtan is going on. So dancing, they are walking, and then they ask somebody, which way is Navadvip? I think we're going in the wrong direction. And they said, Navadvip, there's a road going towards Navadvip, 16 miles that way. Oh, okay. So again, kirtan was going on and dancing was going on, again walking. Again, for few hours, many hours they walked. And they said, how come you're not on that road? They asked somebody, which way is that road towards Navadvip? Navadvip, it's 10 miles that way. I don't know the exact number of miles, but we can only imagine. Really, they started laughing, again started to walk. And one place, this Abhiram Thakur, or Ramdas Abhiram, he just stood. He stood in a 3-bended form of Krishna, like with holding a flute in his hand. And everybody, Vasudeva Ghosh is singing kirtan and everybody is dancing around. And he stood there for 8 hours. And after he came back in external consciousness, they again started walking. So this is how they somehow reached Calcutta. Actually, this Panihati, outside Calcutta. Nobody knew how they reached. No idea. So in that Panihati Gaon, there was this house of Raga Pandit. So Raga Pandit invited them, oh, your Lord, you have come, Lord Nityananda, and these 3 devotees have come. So he served them very well, offered them prasad, and offered puja to Lord Nityananda. Lord Nityananda said, I am having a great desire to wear a garland of Kadamba flowers. And Raga Pandit said, my dear Lord, we don't have Kadamba tree in Bengal. Actually, Kadamba trees happen in Vrindavan area. Lord Nityananda said, no, I have a desire. And Raga Pandit, my dear Lord, we don't have a tree. And moreover, this is not even a season of Kadamba flowers. Nityananda Prabhu said, just go outside, see if something is available. And Raga Pandit came outside. In his courtyard, there was a full-grown Kadamba tree with full-grown flowers. He had never seen that before because it was not a Kadamba tree, it was a lemon tree. On lemon tree, there were Kadamba flowers, full-grown. So Raga Pandit understood who Lord Nityananda is, and it's his desire to have garland of Kadamba flowers, so be it. So he picked up Kadamba flowers, made a nice garland and offered it to Lord Nityananda. And then Lord Nityananda said, I want to have kirtan. So kirtan got started. And they were singing and dancing, and hearing the singing and dancing of these devotees, the inhabitants of that village came, and more people came, and kirtan went on. More people joined, little children joined. And they were in ecstasy. Kirtan was going on. Ecstasy, everybody was dancing and chanting Hare Krishna mantra. And in that ecstasy, little children in that ecstasy, they just grabbed hold of a tree, just embraced a tree and just yanked it out of the ground. And everybody was dancing, and everybody was laughing, everybody was enjoying. And people dancing, they jumped on a tree, and on the tree they just jumped from main trunk to the branches, and they're dancing on the branches. And from the branches they went onto the smaller branches, and they're dancing. Nobody's falling down, no branches are breaking. And they went to the little new buds on the branches. And they were dancing. Nobody's falling down. This is Nityananda Prabhu's Kirtan party. And do you know how long this Kirtan went on? 3 months. Continuous. Nobody ate, nobody slept, nobody did nothing else except chanting and dancing in the Kirtan. We can only imagine what kind of preacher Nityananda Prabhu is, and what kind of kirtaniyas these devotees are, and the dancers are, and what kind of ecstasy they can give us if we just approach properly and take part in the kirtan, sankirtan. This is the Yug Dharma, and this is the only way to attain Krishna Prem. And later on, obviously, we heard about Lord Nityananda and the thief, the chief of the thieves, and that pastime that happened afterwards. And there's so many, so amazing pastimes of Lord Nityananda, and the supernatural pastimes that he performed, superhuman pastimes. And in the same village, when Panihati festival happened, so maybe some other time we'll discuss the Panihati festival. They all just the super excellent pastimes. It just makes us want to attend that kirtan and be part of that kirtan. But anytime kirtan is going on, it is said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu are there. And just we cannot see them. Okay, I guess I can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Amazing, Prabhuji. 3 hours हम लोग नहीं कर सकते कीर्तन ना, 3 minutes भी नहीं हो सकता हमसे, 3 months.
Well, if Lord Nityananda is there, he will make us dance. He will make us dance.
Beautiful, Prabhuji. Very nice.
Yeah.
वो एटमॉस्फेयर ही कितना अच्छा हो गया होगा वहाँ पे.
माता जी यहाँ में एक सर्वभूषण प्रभु जी हैं, तो वो मृदंग लेके आते हैं. जब उनको 1-2 बार आ चुके हैं घर पे, और जब वो भजन कीर्तन शुरू करते हैं तो आई स्वे कि मतलब 45 मिनट्स कोई हिलता नहीं, 40 मिनट 45 मिनट स्लोली शुरू करते हैं और ले जाते हैं एकदम पीक पर. तो हो जाता है. आई थिंक 3 मिनट्स तो मतलब कुछ भी नहीं है वो. It's like a taste you are getting and you keep on just repeating what Prabhuji says.
Yeah, that's all it is. Kirtan is different.
Absolutely.
Okay, you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.